Well, hello everyone. It's a
Evening,
Sawmill
everybody.
Charlie, and we're here on Sawmill Charlie's Friday night live stream.
We're we're hijacking Charlie's stream.
He's in Alabama with a banjo on his knee. Literally, has a banjo with him. So
There's a song like that?
there is one. He was going to Alabama with a banjo on his knee. So
I think the banjo was in the back seat.
Yep, I think so. I think that's what he's saying. He was going to take it with him. But hey, you know what? Let's start with business first. So because everybody will see this in the beginning. So the 7th of June will be my 54th birthday. A week from today, I think. A week from today. 7 days.
Up.
So I have decided in lieu of a birthday celebration, I'm going to give away free shipping on my website until midnight on the 8th.
Bob has a birthday and he gives the gifts.
I'm giving away free shipping.
Isn't that awesome?
So we're going to try that and see if that helps out. So if you need Appy tablets, because, hey, it's becoming time for those things. Once you pull your honey supers off, I'll pop the tablets on, ready to rock and roll. So I put some on half of my colonies, and they're kind of, so eating them, not really gorging themselves on them, but they are slowly eating them. However, none of those did I see any hive beetles that I saw a tail go by. None of those.
There's a cat here.
None of those did I see any hive beetles in. Now, the other side,
that's interesting.
The long row that I haven't put any tablets on yet, because to give you a little insight on how I do my Appy tablets, is the ones that have broken open the packages. Those are the ones I use. I don't use the ones that are sealed. Right, I'm not going up there and opening a fresh pack. I'm using the ones that have destroyed packaging. But other than Ground Zero Hive, which you guys have known that I've kept Appy tablets on the whole time, the other ones on that row, hive beetles, and every one of them. So
no kid.
So I'm planning to pop those apart, drop some tablets on them in the next couple days, just to eradicate them. If that's what's working, we'll do that. But either way, that's on there. Need to go.
That's a really interesting observation. Especially for those of us who don't have hive beetles and we're just terrified that they're going to arrive. So that's a very interesting observation.
Knock on wood, so far since last September, I have used no other treatment supplement, whatever you want to call it. It's a supplement.
Remove the word other, right? You can
truthfully
say what you want to say. We have used no mite treatment.
I've used no mite treatment. Just
nutritional supplements, though.
Yep. And
that's awesome.
They're living, they're thriving, they're doing pretty good. So to this point, that's game on, right? We'll keep that going. But it's just interesting how the oils that are in the Appy tablet as part of the supplement also deters. And I'm pretty confident to say that it's deterring hive beetles at this point, because the only ones that don't have it or that have hive beetles are the ones that haven't been treated. Even the little nukes that I broke half of them up in, they don't have beetles in them, and they're usually the first ones because they don't have a defense, really. So it's pretty good. Pretty good stuff. So I missed the question. What was the question?
Oh, Shane is just saying, he says, hell, for bear would use electric fence or noisemakers. Yeah.
If the noise maker comes in a 12 gauge,
then you're a good shot.
And you're a good shot at close range. I don't have bear, so there you go.
fence. I mean, you can build a fence that will give you confidence, right? Uh, the biggest thing my fence does for me is it lets me sleep at night, honestly. So I don't mess around with a fence. You know, you look at how many dollars worth of bees and equipment are inside that fence. You know, there could be $100,000 inside that fence. Why would I chintz on the fence? Right? Do it right. Put lots of strands. I could put 6 strands around my apiary. My apiary is a big. You've seen my apiary, Bob.
Yeah.
It's a big space, right? I
Yeah.
can drive my half ton in and turn it around. I can do a figure 8 with my half ton in my apiary. I mean, size wise, if there's no bees in there. So it's a big space, and that's nothing for buying enough wire to go around. I've got 5 strands, 5 hot strands and a ground at the bottom, so I got 6 strands total. It doesn't cost a lot, you know. It might cost $1,000 or $2,000 or whatever, uh, but it's a small price to pay to sleep well and to protect my investment that's inside that fence. I had a buddy, he just had a
Well,
bear getting in his apiary 3 nights in a row, and he's smashing all kinds of stuff.
but when you say 100,000, that probably doesn't even take in the loss of honey production.
No, that's just bees and equipment.
Right.
That doesn't not future lost earnings. Like that could be another $50,000.
You see that what Travis put up here?
No.
No beetles in my hives with the tablets either.
Interesting. Where's Travis located?
If you wouldn't have asked me, I'd have been able to rattle it off. I could probably search it here.
Roy, he's just missing a guard tower. My apiary.
Kansas.
And I use game cameras. I have I started last year using a new game camera. Some people call them trail cameras that I really like. It's called Spy Point. It's a Spy Point camera, and it connects to the cellular network. It actually has 2 SIM cards, so it'll use whichever network is available, whichever network is strongest in the area, and it'll send me, you know, when it sees motion, it'll send me thumbnails, and then I can download the image or even the video from that, from that trigger. And I like that. My out yard is not fenced, and I know there's been bears there. They haven't caused any problem yet. So I want to make sure if there's ever an incident over there that I can get over there in a timely manner, make sure that the colonies don't sit through a rainy night or something like that. And the Spy Point system, they have a free service where you can get, I think it's 500 pictures a month or something, for free, and then you can go up from there. I buy the unlimited for the summer because it's $15 for a month,
Right.
and I only buy it for like 4 months, right? So it's quite economical in that way, and again, helps me sleep at night, right? Cuts down on the miles of me driving to my out yard all the time to make sure everything's right side up.
Well, it's it's ridiculous. People look at me with these big pie eyes when they start talking about getting into beekeeping, when they come to buy honey or something. And I said, well, what's your goal, right? What are you trying to do with bees? I would love for everybody to have some bees, right? But let's face it. What's your goal? What are you trying to do? I just want to do my garden. Well, how big is your garden? Is it acres of garden, or is it like a 20 by 10 by 20 square foot section, right? It's like the investment on that, probably you're not going to get a return on. And, if you're really nice and you have a really big garden or a really big field that you need pollinated, if you're really nice, you could probably ask me and I could bring bees to your yard and set them up. I said, because what you're going to put in dollar wise to do that, you will never recoup in honey, ever. Right? I mean, because let's face it, if you're getting 1 or 2 colonies and your bees start dying, and then you're buying bees to do the same thing every year, it's an expense. So I just I told one of my friends that's a beekeeper. He said, "Hey, I need to come buy a nuke from you." I said, "Well, you bought a nuke from me like a couple years ago, right, or last year or something." It was but it's my friend that has injured himself like every year for the past 3 years, and I've gone and helped him. And I said, "Hey, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer." I said, "But every year for the last 3 years, I've come to work your bees one time in like around honey harvest." I said, "Instead of you paying $200 to me to put a new nuke into your colony, it would be better for you to just buy the honey." I mean, because is he really beekeeping or is he just having bees in the box, you know? And for the last 3 years, it's just been bees in the box.
Yeah. I had a conversation with a buddy exactly that. You know, he kept bees for a few years. He got into it actually because he was he's a home brewer. He makes home beer and whatnot, and he wanted to make mead. He got into making mead, so he wanted to, you know, have bees to get the honey to make a mead. And he really got into it, and he got to be a pretty good beekeeper. I was very impressed with him. But he ran that for a few years, you know, just different things in his life going on, and he just didn't have the time, and you know, bees suck up a lot of bees are very specific on you have to be here that day, right, kind
Right.
of thing. And he decided, you know what, I'm just gonna. He had one hive left, and he just said, you know what, I'm gonna bring this hive over to your place. So we just put it in my apiary here,
Well,
and you know, I said,
I mean,
well, I said, why don't you just buy a bucket of honey from me in the fall? I'll give you, you know, friends and family price on a bucket of honey, and make your mead and
well,
whatever.
that's it. I mean, his
So,
passion was mead making, not beekeeping, right? Beekeeping was a means to the end, right? To his end.
yeah,
But
yeah. But you're
and
right. It's cheaper for him just to come and,
just
you
buy the
know,
honey.
even buy $500 worth of honey from me, right? If he wants to make that much mead, because he spent a lot more than $500 on
Oh,
trying to do bees.
and I've been racking my head about it, and you know, you've been privy to our conversations. Um, I love beekeeping. However, um, it's got to make money at this point in my life, right? And when I say that, it's because I don't have a job, so the bees and the websites and all that, that's the income, and those truck payments and insurance payments and light bills and all that stuff don't stop coming.
Keep coming, for
Whether
sure.
you got a good honey crop, a bad honey crop, you know, whatever the case is. Um,
I understand some people, they say, "Oh, I'm not in it for the money." Yeah, and I totally get that. However, isn't it nice to have a hobby that you don't have to keep bleeding money into? You know, isn't that really nice to have something that you don't have to just keep feeding money day after day?
and
Beekeeping can be that way, but you have to kind of be careful because
yeah,
it's
and I
not
wasn't.
huge margins in it, right?
I haven't been careful, right? So, and
Well,
when
see,
I say
you're
that, I
trying to
mean,
do it a little higher, a little larger scale. You know, if a hobbyist has, say, 10 colonies, that'll feed itself, right? You can easily produce enough honey and sell that honey for enough to sustain that 10 colony beekeeping operation. That's not a big deal because 10 colonies, you know, then you still got your day job, right? And so
well,
you're not depending on the bees to subsidize that.
this is that wasn't a black hole to toss money in. Yeah, Brad and I were sitting here the other night
Get a
looking
horse.
at looking at boats, and we were like, "Yeah, I heard boats are just a hole in the lake that you throw your money into." And
That's right. That's right. The
but you know what?
two best days in every boat owner's life: the day you buy it and the day you sell it.
Yeah, just get a buddy that's got a boat. That's better.
Yeah, that's right.
But say, hey, I'll bring the beer. Don't worry about it. But you know,
Yeah.
beekeeping for me hasn't necessarily been that hole that I've thrown money into. It's that when I built that initial hole, and spent that money, yeah, that kind of came back. But then I made my hole bigger, right? And then I'm always, the hole's getting bigger, and I just keep trying to fill that hole and make it bigger and fill the hole. And that's kind of what's happening. I mean, I've got, boat equals break out another 1,000, Lee says. and so
I stopped making the hole in my apiary bigger about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago or something, because when I started beekeeping, like the rest of us, right, we started a modest size. I started with like 11 colonies or something, and then grow. And I remember Phil the Bee Man, I was having a conversation with him one day shortly after I started. He says, well, how many do you want to run? And I said, I don't know. I don't know, because I don't know how many I can run, right? I said, this is my job, so I have to make some money at this. But I don't know how many colonies, a fat old guy can run physically.
and that's a
had that
diminishing
conversation.
return too.
So I had to build over the following years to get to the size where I realized, okay, this is enough, right? I see Alex just came on the chat there. Alex was talking about that, and he said, okay, this is my number, right? This is what I can operate. And that's a really good thing, because I think often we get to the point where, oh, I just need a little more, and then it gets the best of you and it comes crashing down. I think I might be pushing the little more too much when I start to get over 150.
That's that's kind of my situation, right? I mean, I build up my colonies, and then they bring me back. And then I build up my colonies, and they bring me
tell
back.
you.
And
it's self-equalizing.
And it's very much a, do I do pretty good on honey sales? Yeah, I do. But honey sales, you've already spent all that money ahead of time before that honey comes in, right? So like when Robert came on that one night, and he was talking about, well, he consigns it to this guy, and it was a crazy amount, right? I'm like, what are you doing? No, don't do that. In my opinion, because you've already done all the work, bought all the boxes, did whatever work you had to do with the bees, treated them.
You've got all the skin in the game,
all the bottles and everything. That guy's not in a hurry to sell your product, because you own it. He doesn't.
Yeah.
Right.
And I realized that early on when I was expanding, I'd have 50 colonies, and I'm trying to get 100, right? And I realized that in the spring, I have to buy all of the extra equipment for all of those extra 50 colonies. I have to buy all of the frames and boxes and pallets and lids and processing stuff. I have to buy all the feed to feed them in the spring, the patties. I have to buy all the treatments for them all summer. I have to raise the bees, make the splits, raise the queens, buy the queens. I have to do all of that. I have to get them through the, I'll get a little bit of honey off them the first year, probably enough honey to actually just pay for the bees. Then I have to get them through the winter. I have to feed them up and treat them and house them and get them through the winter and get them out in the spring, do the whole thing again, and then make a honey crop off of them.
And then slowly sell that honey crop over the next 6 months.
I'm a year and a half into this colony of bees before they give me anything, and then I have to hit the bricks.
Then you got to requeen them,
right?
Then you got to requeen them.
Well, I mean, yeah, you have to do that. But I'm saying that one colony, there's never no maintenance period with the bees, right? There's always a feed, treatments, new queens, all that kind of stuff. But then you're right. Then I've got the honey. I got the honey in the tank, and it's kind of like, oh, good, I got something from the bees. Well, you didn't really. All you got is a bunch of sticky stuff in a tank.
You just filled your warehouse up.
You got to put that in a jar and find a customer who's going to pay you, and that's going to take you an entire year, perhaps, to sell all that. So it's a long. You've got to put a lot up front before you're getting.
When it was 90,
when you're expanding.
I'm famous for no discount honey sales, right? That's my thing. Don't ask me for a discount.
I think I am too. It's just no.
So
I don't fault anybody for asking, right? I would never
Right.
fault somebody for asking, because it's important to be able to ask for, hey, is that your lowest price? That's fine. And yes, it is. Because if you turn
I
around, if you
you got to give them the long speech version. Well, here at Faith
no,
Apiaries, we pride ourselves on giving you the highest quality product at the lowest absolute price we can.
the lowest, I just say, if you turn around, there's a guy standing behind you who wants to buy it for what I asked.
Right. It's true. Well, I mean, it's not hard here when it's 95 to 100 degrees outside and I'm sweating profusely. That's the moment that I'm sitting there thinking, screw that guy asking for the discount. He's not getting no damn discounts.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, that's expensive. Really? How long
Yeah,
have you been a beekeeper?
right. That's the but you know, it's just it's fun. Yeah, no Charlie. Charlie's on a vacation trip. So we've decided to fill in the blanks for him. But the
We're the fill in
with
the blanks crew.
yeah, fill in the blank. The but you know, when people come up there and they ask about your honey and you spend time, you talk to them about the different colors of honey and creamed honeys and all this stuff, and then they ask you for a discount and you're like, in my mind, I'm thinking I got at least $50,000 worth of equipment out there.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
I would love to give you a discount. However, you know, it's got to
or just answer that is the discounted price.
right. That is the discounted price. Look
That
online.
is with the
See how much
discount.
other
Just
people
because I like you,
right?
right? I saw you coming and I like the way you look, so that is the discounted price. I decided right away I'm giving this guy the lowest price.
Let's see. I got caught on the YouTube chat because it takes a second to come up on the other side over here. Yeah, Matt. Hey, Matt started selling his. He called me. He said, "Hey, I mailed out my first virgin queens." So he's been grafting and shipping out some queens. So if Matt from Matt and Sarah still on here, or is it lasering with Matt? I don't know how he showed up in the stream tonight. I saw him, but he is shipping some queens too. So if you need queens and you're kind of in the, well, I guess you could send them anywhere, but you know, he's in Minnesota. So if you're kind of up there needing some queens or whatever, yep, laser engraving with Matt. There you go. So I didn't know which one he was on tonight. So contact Matt. He can probably hook you up with some queens if you need some. My queens are doing pretty good. I mean, the splits that I made seem to be doing all right. I did check a couple of those today, and ding, 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 we have eggs and larvae, 3 or 4 day old larvae in there. So
Awesome.
You know, it's going to take them a minute to build up, but then I have some that didn't necessarily take their queen, so that's why those are there. Right now, I can do something. But my couple of zombies have come in like a champ, just like 2 zombies. Oh, need some brood, need some eggs. There you go. I'll make sure the queen's not on there. Nope, she's not.
There is nothing like that. To have all this resource sitting on the edge of the apiary, right?
Well, the funny thing is, it's like here's my thought process with the zombie, and it's probably wrong because it's my thought process. However, when I go out there,
well, if you're wrong, I'm the guy to tell you you're wrong, right? You know that.
yeah. Well, what I do is I go out there and I want to keep her alive, but if she dies, oh well.
Exactly.
I mean, I have no qualms of going out there and grabbing a frame, making sure she's not on it, dropping a foundation in, not even a drawn comb, just a foundation, and moving that somewhere else and say, okay, now you got 3 frames of brood in there because in a couple of weeks it's going to hatch out and she's going to be packed back full again.
That's what I do all summer. I just go and raid the zombies. It's kind of like, of course, I always give them drawn comb. I think that's important, but
well, I'm out.
That's exactly what they're. Yeah, I know you're struggling with drawn comb, and it's really a magical place when you get to that point in your operation where you don't. It's so nice to have the drawn comb. But yeah, that's what I do all summer. I'll just go through all the zombies and collect all of the brood I can, and
I
young
think,
bees and all that. It's beautiful.
honestly, I think I am about 25 colonies heavy right now. I think 50 for what I've got going on. 50 is perfect. I don't know that these nukes that I've got will build up strong enough before winter. And if they don't, then I've got kind of an issue because I do have 5-frame nuke boxes, but they still probably wouldn't even fill that all the way up. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. It's hard for that to happen during the dearth for them to draw comb and stuff. So without just slapping a ton of feed right on them and getting them robbed
Ship
out.
your
Right?
bees to North Dakota or something and shut them down for the winter.
Just take them and put them in the freezer. Set it at 40.
Sure.
Set it at 40 degrees.
Yep.
And just set it there, right?
Yep. So Alex is asking, he asked if I'm going to breed off the Randy Oliver queens. I really want to. I think it's a great idea. I don't have a firm plan yet because of the way the resources in the apiary are going right now. I'm concentrating on getting all those queens laying. I mean, I'm going to see if they're laying. There's nothing I can do to help that right now. And the other ones is like, you get to it. See how these zombies work out, right? See what I'm going to get out of these. They seem to be doing okay, but we need more warm weather. It's not been very warm. And just all that kind of thing. See how the workflow works out. I'd like to do some queen rearing here in another week or two. Start setting up a builder and get some queens going. Mostly, you know what? I don't really have a place in my plan for queens. I might just sell them because I don't really have resources to be making a ton of nukes. However, I want to make queens so that I can keep up my skills, right? I want to keep practiced at it.
3 weeks to solstice.
Oh, dude.
3 weeks. Which will start our decline and start your honey flow like mad.
Yeah. Yeah, our honey flow really opens the floodgates right after solstice.
So it's going to be interesting next 3 weeks. In the next 3 weeks, I need to have all my honey off. I need to have my supplements on and then slap the feed to them and treat all my comb.
Yeah, very different world. A very different world, the last month or so too, because you've been in honey flow and I'm just kind of like, okay, little bees, let's do this, start building up.
How are they doing progression wise? I mean, I know you got your vlog coming out tomorrow and it's probably going to have a bunch on it, but
well, not a lot yet because they've so many of them have new queens and I don't bother them too much. But I think they're doing okay. I think they're doing okay. One of the things I need to do next week, I think, is start to get out some second brood chambers and put seconds on some of the stronger ones.
let them
And
come
mostly
up.
some of the stronger ones that I got a couple of weeks ago, the eight that I got, and maybe 2 of the 3 overwintered survivors. How late will I graft? Well, I'm gonna work backwards from that question. What's the latest that I would be able to make use of a newly mated queen? And I think the answer to that would be mid to late August. So I think the latest that I would bother to graft would be the end of July. So that's kind of the answer to that. My flow tapers off through August, but I don't get the stark dearth like Ian gets. And so I think there's still pretty good resources for the bees to make queens and to have a good mating season. So if I was going to do late season splits, for example, which I kind of always mean to, I just never do it. mostly because the workload is just a little too high around that time of year. And then I would graft queens, the last week in August or so, get them freshly mated for those late season splits.
And then you split late season, and then pretty much feed them up and put them in the shed.
Yeah, exactly. It probably, well, Phil the Bee-Man did a presentation for our association on late season splits, the way he does it. And I don't think he's been doing it a long time, but he's definitely worked out some things that work for him. And he's a big advocate of it. So you should look for that on the Red River Apiarist Association YouTube channel if you want to see that presentation he did. So, I always feel like it's a really good idea. Here's the downsides to late season split. And there's a ton of upsides, right? There's a ton of upsides to late season split. But the downsides to late season split is not only do I have to raise a queen or buy a queen, so there's money, now I have to feed the stinking thing, right? So now I have to pour more money into feeding it and perhaps treating it, not only besides having the equipment to house that colony, and then winter it. I mean, putting another few colonies into the building for winter, that's no huge hardship, but that sugar bill sure is high.
Yeah, it's amazing how I've kind of gone to the just putting out a little bit. Like, I mean, when I say a little bit, if I put out 5 gallons of syrup for 75 colonies, that's basically a trickle, right? I've put out 30 gallons in a tote before, and they've consumed it all in a day. So I'm just trickle feeding, right? Just to give them something to go
my
with.
winter feeding regime, like it's such a different situation here with feed. We feed a little bit in the spring, but really doesn't amount to much. It might be a gallon,
Just something to get her
2
going.
gallons tops in the spring, right? So it's not a big sugar bill in the spring. But in the fall, yeah, it's 5 gallons of heavy syrup per colony, and that's almost 20 kilograms of sugar per colony. 45 pounds. So 45 pounds of sugar per colony to feed them up for winter. Boy, that's a lot of sugar, and that adds up fast. Like my
Well,
sugar
you
bill.
should have a lot of feed left over from last year.
Well, I do actually. Yeah,
already
yeah,
framed up.
I do. Yeah, my sugar bill is $4,000 to $5,000 every fall, and that's a big bill to pay kind of all at once.
That's what
It's
Alex said. His was 1,100 for his. So yeah,
it's 30. I just was in the store and it's $33 a bag right now. So that equates about $33 per colony. And I know our sugar prices are actually a bit less than yours in the States.
Oh yeah, for sure, less than ours.
And they're way more than they were. Pre-COVID, it was $20. It was $19 to $20 pre-COVID. So we've boy, sugar has gone up a lot here in the last 3 or 4 years. So I don't know. I almost wish I could winter my bees on honey, but in such a long winter, that's difficult because the sugar syrup is a lot more pure and clean. It doesn't have that ash content that natural nectar has, and that's part of what helps them winter as well as they do here over 5 months. 5 months in the hive, kind of thing. So yeah, it's a tough call. It's a really tough call.
My daughter forgot I was on a live stream before she engaged her loudmouth.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Richard's talking about feeding the bees honey all winter, and that's great. In my climate, that doesn't work so well because it's so long. Bees don't poop for 5 months, and so they need something that's extremely clean. And natural honey isn't that thing.
And if it's canola, it's like a brick.
Well, yeah, it'd be like trying to eat cement by the middle of winter.
But I don't fault anybody for again, that goes back to what your goals are as a beekeeper too, right?
Yeah.
So someone once said to me that sugar's cheaper than honey is. So if you're selling honey, you make more than you're spending in sugar to feed them. So
Well, maybe, but
possibly,
again, when you get that honey in the tank, right?
right?
Now you got to go sell it. So
Yeah.
you got to sell it to make that difference, right? People talk about drawn comb, and they'll try and scare a new beekeeper and say, "Oh, you don't want to, you know, it takes X number of pounds of honey to make a pound of wax," and all this kind of statistics that they'll spew. Well, I did the math on that when I started beekeeping. I thought, yeah, okay, let's do the math on that. And I realized it's kind of the same thing, because I can either go out to another beekeeper and buy frames of drawn comb. So then my bees don't have to use up any of the nectar to make comb to store the honey, or at least hardly as much. Then I have to harvest that honey. Then I have to pack that honey, and I have to sell that honey. And that could take me most of a year.
Oh, and then whoever you sold to, if it's store, has to pay the invoice. That's another month.
Yeah. So there's all that stuff, right? Or I can just pay the bees to build their own comb, and it's the same money.
Right. All right.
The cost of the cost of the drawn comb is the same as paying the bees to draw the comb. So I can either pay another beekeeper for the drawn comb, or I can pay my bees for the drawn comb. The difference is I don't have to pack and sell as much honey over the following year to pay for the comb that I bought from the beekeeper, instead of paying my bees to draw it. So it's the same thing. That's why I've adopted the mantra that drawn comb is most valuable in the brood chamber, not in the honey super per se, because that has different implications. I'm pointing at Alex. Hi, Alex. Uh, that has different implications in the brood chamber, swarm mitigation, stuff like that.
Right.
That's where buying drawn comb is valuable to you. Not so much in the brood chamber, in the honey super, because you're just paying your bees to draw it. That's all. It's the same money. You're not saving anything.
Good evening.
Hey, Alex.
Hey, Alex, I just watched your video making your builder.
Yeah.
Way to go. So you've got a few days then you're going to let that emerge for a few days, and then you're going to graft into it?
Yeah, I let it emerge over the week. So
Yeah.
I didn't bother dumping like nurse bee yet,
Sure.
because they'd be too old by
They age
the time.
anyway, yeah.
So tomorrow I'm going to graft, and I'm going to dump a whole lot of nurse bees in there.
So when you source those nurse bees, you just go around, find the queen, and then start shaking a bunch of frames?
Yep. Or what I do, I don't bother looking for the queen. I split the hive in half, because they all have 2 brood chambers. Dump all the bees down, put a queen excluder,
Yeah.
put the box back, and let them rise up.
I was going to ask if you did that. Yeah, that's so nice, isn't it? Because then you can shake with impunity above that queen excluder. Yeah, take everything you want. Yeah.
Except for the drones that get caught.
They'll fly away.
No, I'm saying the drones that get caught in the top.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you run out of entrances.
That hatch out on the brood frame.
I didn't get what the Brad said.
But you don't have to have that queen excluder in there for a long time.
No.
Really, do you?
Well, I'm thinking of leaving it. I'm thinking of leaving it there, because I want to convert. I want them to draw my deeps for next year.
Yeah.
So I'm like, although it's pretty much drawn, I have about 28 box to draw. Maybe a bit less, because I added some.
See, that's smart. That's really smart. I know a lot of people run deep brood chambers and medium honey supers, and I'd really advocate for those people to run a few deep honey supers and draw yourself some comb and honey flow. That's where you want to get that drawn comb from.
It's going to be a pain to move those heavy boxes, but it's only 1 per colony.
Yeah, and you could just take the frames out. Like, you don't have to lift it. If you've got a few boxes, just take the frames out.
And I was rummaging around my shed, and I found like 30 drawn deep frames. Like, oh, I could have used that. Oh well. I'm probably gonna put those in the resource hives. Each of my apiary has one double hive, Michael Palmer style. So I'm probably gonna give those drawn frames to those resource hives, and any excess will go and help the splits build up faster. I'm making only 24 cells because I don't need that many. So let's say I get, even with 50%, I have more than enough queens, even with 50% success.
Isn't that a great feeling?
Yeah.
Just to have all the queens you could use. Isn't that great? Do you ever make queens specifically for resource nukes that you talk about, the Michael Palmer style? Do you ever make queens specifically
Well, not
for that?
specifically. I just, hey, Charlie.
It's Banjo Charlie.
Hey.
I just set aside 4 total,
Yeah.
2 per apiary.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Those hive, I don't use excluders. I just let them build what they will.
Yeah.
What's going on, Charlie?
Not much. Just sitting here in Alabama. Can you hear me good?
Oh yeah.
Sure.
Okay. I didn't know whether this laptop worked well or not.
Is that your old laptop that you replaced and used?
Yeah, I'll tell you. Talk about slow. And this thing, it's not that old, but compared to my other unit at home, it's like, man, this is like junk.
That's kind of like me. Not that old, but still pretty slow.
Yeah. So
I resemble that remark as well.
I resemble, yeah.
Everyone.
So we just been hanging out, talking little bees, Charlie.
Yeah, actually, there was a guy on my channel here several months ago. It was Shenandoah Bee Supply down in Woodstock, Virginia. I stopped down there the first day out. We were traveling and spent about an hour and a half with him. And he's probably the only bee supply store within the area, from what I gather. And they was selling a lot of frames, and not a whole lot of people there, 2 or 3 people, but he recognized me, along another beekeeper recognized me, and I think the one guy got like 110 frames.
All that notoriety is following you all the way to Alabama.
Yeah.
Get away.
I didn't see no bees down here, but so we had a pretty good time. We went by Sevierville, and
the other guy.
And I got to visit my first Buc-ee's.
Oh, Buc-ee's is a shit. I mean, it's great.
Well, when you get off the interstate to go into to Sevierville towards where Hive Alive was, it's on the left-hand side there. They told us it's the biggest one built.
Yep,
it had 286 gas pumps.
Oh my god.
Yep.
I don't think Winnipeg has 286 gas pumps.
Well, I know Lebo doesn't.
And
full gas pumps.
36 stalls in the lady, 34 stalls in the ladies' bathroom.
Pam just said there was 36 stalls in the girls' bathroom.
34.
That's good to know.
But anyway, that's like I say, we stopped by there for the first time and checked the place out and all that.
Yeah, I like Buc-ee's.
Yeah, that's nice. I actually thought they had a restaurant, but they just had sort of like a food court type thing, wrap sandwiches and stuff.
But you can get they've got pulled pork, brisket, they've got a jerky place, they got everything in there.
Yeah, sweets. They were there's a middle court in there where they were cutting up pork, slicing up, putting it on sandwiches and stuff like that.
Of course, it must be made out of gold because it's like $9 for a brisket sandwich.
Yeah.
You kick in some collard greens and some hush puppies, and I'm there.
Yeah. But then we went on down to, see, what was it? Chattanooga. We went up on Lookout Mountain on the cable cars and all that. It was pretty cool.
I've been to Chattanooga.
We went up Lookout Mountain. You get on that train that's...
It's a Chattanooga choo-choo?
No, it was a cable car. It was like a train car that you got on. It was on an angle, and it pulled you up the side of the mountain on an incline. And, I mean...
That's kind of like anything in San Francisco.
Yeah, well, a little bit steeper than that. They actually had the seats on an angle, so when you went up, you actually were sitting level, I'll say, when it went up the side of the mountain and everything. You could probably see at least 100 miles or more throughout the whole valley. I think they said there was 4 different states that you could see from up there. It was pretty cool. So,
I saw the State of Confusion last time I was there.
What is that?
The State of Confusion. That's what I saw. And hey,
I'm in Canada, but I'm in a state too. Intoxication.
And now we've got the most famous person on the screen, Matt.
The other guy.
Why am I famous? What did I do?
That's what I wondered. Every time I watch one of your videos, I'm like, why is this guy famous?
I'm not famous. I'm just another Joe Blow. Well, Matt, whatever. Not Joe, but
the other guy. You're just the other guy.
Just the
Matt
other
Blow.
guy. Yeah.
So what's going on, Matt?
Oh, it's been a long day. It's raining all day.
Yeah,
So-
no kidding.
When's it supposed to stop?
Tomorrow morning.
All right, so tomorrow, as soon as it stops, go outside and see if any of your colonies swarm.
Yeah.
Prime time, right after the rain.
You betcha.
They're not that big. I cut too many down. I'm up to 23 colonies already.
From 3.
Bob
from
says
3.
you're in Minnesota.
Yep, Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Well, you get some nasty thunderstorms out there. I know, lightning storms.
Yeah, we've been getting a lot this year, which is nice because we had 3 years of a drought, so we could use the rain for sure. So I got 15 queens in the incubator right now, and they want
Nice.
some homes. So tomorrow.
So Matt has taken up queen rearing. His
Yeah,
new
that is
passion.
changed. That has completely changed my view on beekeeping tenfold. That, like, if you haven't done it, everyone should do it. It is the coolest thing ever.
Totally agree, Matt. Changed my life too. When I started doing that, it totally changed my life. You got a bunch of queens inside of your apiary. It's kind of, oh, look, there's a queenless hive. Oh, look, there's always queens there. Your cage went up.
Yeah, it's the coolest thing ever. And now I'm just like, oh, I got another queen. I got another queen. I got another queen. I got another queen. Everyone have a queen.
What am I going to do with all these queens? Make resource hives like Alex is talking about. He's making resource hives out of them.
Yep.
Queen rearing is like, I think, the most fun part of beekeeping of it all.
Absolutely is. Absolutely
Yep.
is.
And then again, it's the total key to self-sustainability, I think.
Yeah, totally.
Saves a whole
I
lot
agree.
of money.
Oh yeah, it's probably the easiest way to save a ton of money.
Yep. I would
Yeah.
say easiest to save a ton of money and probably the easiest to get money to, like, buy more equipment
Yeah,
because you got an addiction now.
paying $50 for a bug, just a grafting tool is what, $1?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's 15 cents for a grafting cup.
Yeah, it's
$50.
crazy. People are wanting cells and stuff. I don't know. I don't really like to give away the cells, but
Don't
like
give them away.
There's
well,
5
to friends I've given away, but I sold a handful already. I like to let them hatch, so then I know if they're gonna make it or not.
Yeah,
That's the gamble they're taking for being a cheap ass. $5 is their gamble. They put it all on red.
$10. $10 bucks.
It's 10, yeah, 10.
10 bucks.
For,
$20 for a virgin.
Yep, that's what I've been getting.
And like you say, the virgin, you know, they'll come. What I learned is that they'll come back. Hey, that cell wasn't any good, and I always would back it up. Well, the next year I said, okay, no more cells. You got to buy a virgin. Here's your virgin. It's alive, and it's like, you know, if you don't know what to do with it, you know, they would say, well, I'll put it in tomorrow, the next day. I said, no, you won't. I says, because it's going to be dead. I said, you get here, you take it home right now and put it in a nuke, or, you know, that kind of a thing. And that alleviates all that guessing. Well, here it is, it's alive. It's up to you. If it dies, don't come back. Buy
It's
another.
all a gamble. I mean, let's face it. So you buy $10 queen cells, right? You don't know if it's going to hatch or not. You buy a $20 virgin, you don't know if she's coming back mated or not. Or at all, for that matter.
But your margin for error decreases every time, right? You buy a mated queen, then your risk is a lot less because you know maybe she's going to die, maybe she's not very well mated or something like that. But you're right. Every time you spend more money, your expected margin for failure is a lot less.
Yeah, I've been doing. I'm so really shocked on the virgins. I had to make a two frame split, and I got queen castles. I took some nukes and I put a divider in there, and I put a 2-frame split in there. I'll go and do something else, and then 2 hours later, I'll set an alarm, go back, let the virgin walk on the frame, and they start feeding her and grooming her, and she's right down in there like it's nothing.
Beautiful.
Yep.
That's exactly the way I do it.
Then she
I would rather do that.
off by a dragonfly.
I got more.
And then you go back to the incubator and do it all over again.
And my favorite thing about that is you never put in a cell that's not going to emerge, right? You've got that mating nuke, and you're never going to put a cell in there and realize, oh, it didn't emerge, right?
Yep.
Or
Because
they tore it down for some
every time.
stupid reason.
Yeah, well, that was one of the things that I did is like you go and put a cell in, and then tinkeritis comes into play, and it's like, well, did it hatch? I got to find her, you know, and all that. Well, if you put a virgin in there, like you say, you just let her walk in. You know she's in there. Come back in 2 weeks.
That's right.
Yeah, but the 7 days pops up, you know, Charlie, and then you're going, did she do it early? Is she one of the ones
You
that
go
did it
find
early?
something else to do. You leave them alone.
You got to put a time lock on that box. You can't open it up until this certain date.
I put a round R1, R2, R3, round 1, round 2, round 3, all the way through my grafting season, and I'll write that on the box, and so then I've got my schedule in the house, and it'll say, okay, this now you can check round 3 queens. So then I'll go to the apiary and I'll check all the ones that say R3. If they say R4, it's hands off, right? They're not done cooking yet.
I sent 2 queens
Tinkeritis.
to Brian, and because he was having troubles with laying worker colony, and I'm like, here, try this. I have extra ones anyways, and I'm pinching them off. I said, I got another batch coming through. I'll get rid of these 2. So I sent it to him, and I said, I want to try shipping. And they got to him, and he didn't get to them until the following day, and they were dead. So I'm like, dang it. I didn't put worker bees inside the cage. I left them on the outside to feed in.
Okay.
And I think that was my mistake. I had plenty of nurse bees in there, but
yeah, a battery box idea.
Yeah.
Well, now you say Brian, what, Flower Street Brian, or who?
Cooper. Castle Hive.
Oh, Castle Hive.
Yeah.
Well, when it comes to laying worker, the best way to do that is just shake them out in the grass.
Yep.
Because
I had a laying worker for one of my bees that didn't come into mating, and I forgot to check it. So it was tucked underneath the trees. I totally forgot about it. But I went over there, and it was a laying worker. I shook them all out, put a frame of brood in there, took the one that they had laid up with eggs, and then they all started walking back in. I let her go. She went on a mating flight, came back. Now she's laying that good
Nice.
colony.
You know, I've heard guys use these QMP sticks, these pheromone sticks.
Yeah, I've heard that.
That you know, kind of. I've heard guys use those in their mating nukes consistently, whether or not there's a cell or a virgin or a mated queen. They just leave that stick in there, so it always prevents the progression to laying worker.
That's a good
I
idea.
have no
I haven't heard
experience
that.
in
I heard
that,
they were
but I've
using
heard
them
that.
for like, yeah, that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, I've heard guys use it if it's queenless, but I've heard some guys say they just leave it in there, and it's
Sure.
good. So that'd be a good thing to try.
Yeah, heck yeah. Yeah, I got quite a few nukes already. I built a lot of nuke boxes already. You figure out fast when you start making queens, you need equipment a lot faster than normal.
You do, especially if you're going to produce mated queens. That's what I had last year with these stands here. I just had over 100 nukes on these last summer that I had raised queens for.
Well, last year when I was grafting, my problem was having the resources to make the starter finisher when I was doing it, right? Enough brood that I could pull to make a nice, and keep feeding it. That was the thing. Just keep feeding it because, I was doing it in the spring.
When were you doing that?
Right in the spring. Right
in the spring, eh?
Yeah. This is like beginning of April when I started grafting. And, I come out of winter, 17 is the number. So
solid.
And they're not even good 17. It's just 17 queens that are
hanging
doing
on.
So, and I was talking to Matt. I said, that's the reason I really didn't graft this year, because I felt like last year some of the colonies did well and they made it. But the thing was that I was pretty much grafting from the best of the worst, right? My colonies kind of all sucked, but I was grafting from the best one I had out of that. So this year I brought in some new blood queens. I brought in some nukes with different queens. And then Jose sent me those queens. So everybody's new again. So it's in better genetics, I'm hoping. So next year, back on the graft train and start doing that,
So you got those fields baled then.
I was being asked if I was grafting, if I was going to graft off the Randy Oliver queens, and one of the scenarios that I thought I might do is graft, and this idea actually came right from one of Randy Oliver's comments, is to graft some queens from his stock and then put a notice up in the post office and say that there's any beekeepers in the area, I'll give you free queens, just so that I can stock their hives with Randy's genetics, and then secure the drone stock for the area. Right? There's not a lot of beekeepers around here, but there's a few hobbyists within 3 to 5 miles.
Yeah.
Well, I enjoyed grafting the queens. Same reason, right? You get up, today is hatch day, and you go out there and you check your, nope, not yet. Come back 30 minutes later, nope, not yet. Eventually you come back and there's one, and then I was taking her out and marking her, putting her back in the tube, putting a little bit of honey on there for her. And then by that time, usually another one's coming out, and it's just like bees coming everywhere.
I can't do that because I have regular work. What I do is I make the set, graft 1 week, come back a week later. If they're capped, put them in nukes and let them go in mating flight.
Absolutely.
I was so for some reason it worked like I would pull the cells, and the day that I pulled the cells, I would immediately graft another round and put them right back in. Right. So the cells would go to my incubator, graft up another round, boom, right back in. And so as they're hatching out now, I'm putting them into the mating nukes, and I'm coming back. Oh, well, it's time to pull my next round and put them into the incubator. And then I'd go back and graft another set and put them in. So it was just one box that just kept getting used over and over again.
That'd be about a week rotation, wouldn't it, Bob? Maybe a little more.
Yeah, a little more than a week. So it was, but it was working out pretty good. I think I did 48 queens last year, which is, always over graft because they're not going to come back. Some of them aren't going to come back, or, they get lost in the mating nuke, or they get
Absolutely, and then you can start to be picky. You can say, "Well, that one's not very big," and
right.
then you can tell that. So, yeah, I mean, people say, "Well, why would I want to graft 30 queens when I only need 5?" Well, you can pick the best 5, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
just at worst, you can just give them the hive to those that you don't
Give them to
want.
your friends. Sell them for $20 or something, right?
I went when I went down to Cutic one time. He says, "Man, I got a bunch of cells left over. Like they would ship out, and then whatever's left over, they can't keep them forever, right? So they don't. They'll move that whole thing right into a freezer, freeze all them queens, empty them out, and reuse the stuff. And they've constantly got hundreds and hundreds of queens coming through.
That kind of reminds me of Royal Jelly Productions production facilities that they raise a lot of queen and they just throw them out as soon as the cell are cat.
Yep, queen larva is chicken feed.
Such a waste.
It seems like a waste.
It seems like a waste, but when you're grafting nonstop and you have abundance of them, it's like, whatever.
It gets that way, and Ian, the way he's doing it, Carrie started grafting recently, and they're producing cells, regularly now, and we've had some terrible weather, and we've had long stretches of rain and whatnot. So they'll have, and of course, anybody who raises queens, that the schedule is set for you. It doesn't matter what the weather is doing. So they had a situation where these cells were ripe. They need to go now, but it's torrential rain for days. So they just had to take them out. Wasted that round of graft. However, so now that changes that situation from I had 500 queens arrive in the mail. So now I have to work around the raindrops to use up these queens. It changes it from that situation to I have this huge supply of queen cells and I will use everything I can use, right? So I think that really helps a guy like that sleep at night, knowing that I have all of the queen cells I can use, and what gets wasted isn't really that much of a waste. 15 cents for a queen cup and a cell cup, and some of Carrie's time. It doesn't take her long to graft. Boy, I've seen her do it.
Yeah. I found out too, I was cleaning out the shed with a bunch of bee stuff, and one of the neighbors stopped that I haven't talked to in a long time. And she wanted to borrow my spinner because she had honey from last year. So I said, sure, and hers broke. So she took that. Found out she buys queens every other year, all VHS or VHS. Queens.
VSH.
Or VHS, yeah.
Yeah.
So then she said the other person, so she's about a half a mile. There's someone else that's about a mile, and they buy all Buckfast.
What's the draw with Buckfast? I keep hearing about those.
I don't know. They're supposed to be good with mites and whatnot. I haven't never had one, so I can't say.
Somebody was just asking me that today. He says, well, I need some queens and I can get Buckfast next week. Should I do it? And I said, I don't know. I don't know anything about them.
Well, Lawrence with Black Mountain Honey, that's his thing, Buckfast.
Yeah.
I mean, but I don't know. At the end of the day, are they any better? I mean, I've heard everything. Saskatchewans are the best ones against mites. Then I heard Russians, they're the best ones against mites. And then, now it's the Caucasian. Oh, Caucasians are the best against mites and the gentlest. And I'm like, dude, just send me some bees. I don't care what they are.
I got Appy tablets. I don't need VSH.
just send me some bees. They're probably half going to die anyway by the next winter. So we'll just
make sure you send me more than 17 because that's how many I'm going to have in the spring.
How many colonies you got? 75. What'd you come out of winter with? 23. That's kind of how it goes.
Well, it could be worse. I know it can be worse.
Yeah, Brad, I heard you guys talking earlier, and then I was talking to the kids, so I missed it. But you guys are talking about how many hives everyone likes to have or colonies.
Yeah.
What's your number that is your good golden number?
Seems like around 150, 120 to 150. It seems like when I get more, 175 or more than that, things seem to get tough. And the tough season for me is mid-August to late September, when I'm trying to harvest honey and prep bees for winter and all that kind of stuff, because I'm only one guy, so the workload is really heavy right there, and it's critical, right? You make mistakes in September and there's no coming back.
Would a lift help you, or your tractor does the job?
Well, I mean, I have a hive lifter, one of Boris's hive lifters, so that helps me with harvest. I find that the harvest is not as bad, but because then I harvest, then I have to start feeding bees. I start feeding bees, I have to start doing my mite sampling, and I have to start doing treating, and at some point I have to move bees, but that's usually in October. And I'm trying to get the honey house squared away and do as much extracting as I can. And usually I get a little bit of extracting in, and then I have to not do it for a week or two because I'm busy tending to the bees. So yeah, there's not a lot that could help me there besides another body, really.
That's good to know, because I'm a one-man operation too. So
Yeah. You just have to watch for your bottlenecks in your time, like that time of season when you just think, oh man,
This is
I
my
can't
bottleneck.
possibly. Well,
Me.
I'm
my bottleneck.
That's what I'm saying. I'm the bottleneck, right? There's just not enough hours in a day and not enough days in a week, and I can't put in the 16-hour days that I could when I was in my 30s and 40s.
When we were Matt's age.
yeah,
When
12 hours, like for me,
For
it's
you
about
young
my
fellas.
maximum. And I can't do that 2 days in a row.
I'm going to try to hit 100 is my goal, but
yeah,
I know with the grafting now, I was always going to be 100 like strong honey hives. Now with doing the grafting, I don't know. I'm going to have some for honey, but I think I might go towards selling bees too. Just
what are
I
your
like
harvests
grafting.
like where you are, Matt? Where in Minnesota are you? Are you kind of north or south?
West Central.
West Central, okay.
Oh, no, we're from the cities.
Yeah, okay. I know where you are.
Last 2 years have been a drought, and it has been terrible. Russell Koopman that's on here, he's another couple hours west of me, and he had a great year last year, but we didn't produce anything.
So typically what kind of a yield would you get?
I have on this hive on the other side of the wall, actually, I have 3 deeps, a hive flow, and a honey super on there, and they're just starting to fill the hive flow right now, or flow hive, whatever it's called.
So that's over 100 pounds.
Yeah, everything else is filled. They're capping it.
Yeah, that's pretty good revenue off one colony, though. If you don't have your drought, and then you get nothing.
Yeah. So
yeah,
it's
100 is tough, and this is another piece of advice that Phil B-Man gave me when I was starting. Is he asked me that, and that's exactly what I said. I said I don't know how many I can handle, but I'll try to do 100 or something and see what that's like. And he said, 100 is a really hard place to be, and this is what he told me, and this is kind of why I'm asking you what your harvest is like. He said, because 100 is a lot of work, but you're not making enough money to buy the toys, right?
Right.
You're not making enough to buy an easy loader. Yet you've got enough work to do that you really could use one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what he was saying, and that's sort of true. Now, in my case, I had some equipment before I decided to keep bees. So if I had to pay for that equipment out of my beekeeping, that would have been a lot tougher. Trucks and trailers, my tractor, my land, buildings and stuff. So if I had to pay all of that out of my beekeeping, that would have been a lot harder to do.
Yeah.
I need a truck.
So I did metal fabricating for a long chunk of my life. So I have EasyCAD, and what I did is I drew up something similar.
I wish you were my neighbor.
I drew up a system where I can do it on a half-ton truck, and I do have an older pickup that I think about doing is putting a flatbed on there, and then I was gonna rig up my own easy lift, basically with 12-volt. Winch, brain fart. But yeah, the biggest thing for me was I've been thinking about is how I'm going to move all the equipment if I had 100 strong hives of just honey. So
Yeah.
that's where I might go a little less on the honey part, but do more of the bees.
Buddy just built he built himself one of those, kind of an easy loader kind of a thing, and yeah, it works really nicely. You can see him using it on one of my videos last fall. So he's a metal fabricating guy too, which is I wish I was. Oh, I wish I was.
Alex, I found you a bee vehicle.
The literal bee vehicle.
And it is
a lot of honey.
And it's electric. So you wouldn't have to put fuel in it. And you could just harvest, let your bees fly out, and then open the window up for people to come buy your honey.
Oh God!
I'd put like that. Put some speakers on there. It does the ice cream song.
Yeah, I would buy that and put it right in my front yard, and put local honey on the side, right? And there you go.
And Bob's your uncle.
And Bob's my own uncle.
Well, Brad, don't you have a some type of a lift arm on your trailer? You said you had. Didn't you do something like what Matt's talking about?
I did a really poor implementation of something. It was all I had was it was one of these crane things that just has a hydraulic jack on it that kind of lifts up like this.
You mean like a motor lifter? Yeah.
Sort of. It was sort of like that. Yeah. And I think it might have worked okay. The biggest problem with it was it would only turn around in a particular arc, right? So you'd bring something onto the trailer and set it down. You got to set everything down kind of always in the same place. So now you have to manhandle it and push it to where you want it to be. You can't situate things very well on the ground. So yeah, and the second time I used it, the winch, it was actually a manual winch on it, and the winch failed and almost dropped a pallet of bees right on the ground in front of me. And so I just packed it in from there. It's still got the mast on the trailer, but I'm going to take that off because it's a pain in the butt having that mast there.
Yep.
I called it the not as easy loader, but way cheaper loader. It's kind of a long name.
It just made the acronym from the first letters.
Yeah. Yeah, it would probably be something obscene, though. I'd never worked that out.
Hey, Brad, how often do you bring in new queens to prevent inbreeding?
This year, it's every year.
Yeah, 100%.
100%.
Usually.
Well, see, people ask me stuff like that. They say, how do you do, what's your process? What do you normally do? Well, I don't normally do anything because I'm just pulling it out of my butt like the rest of you, right?
Yeah. But
no, things just seem to work their way out, right? I am aware of inbreeding, and I've always bought, if I'm running 100 colonies or 120 colonies, I'll go out and buy myself 10 queens in the spring just to get something different going on, right? So that's real. It's not a very scientific kind of answer.
Every year you buy a few, or
sure
when you feel that there's a need more like.
No, I see. I have no metrics for that, so I can't say. I can't look
Gut
around
instinct,
and say, I wonder if it's time. No, I don't. I just go out and, I'll just go out and buy because I don't have, I want to make some splits early in the spring. I want to make some splits early May. I'm not going to produce queens for that. So I'm going to go out and buy some queens for that. So that might be 5, 10, 20 queens that I'll just go and buy. So that mixes things up quite a bit.
Just always got some new blood coming in.
And I often will breed off of one of those, right? Just one of those nice new fresh laying queens. I might breed off of that. So then all of my stock then is a different line every spring. I've not, you know, I've been trying to raise queens and do grafting and all this kind of stuff, and I'm mating nukes and making nukes and all this kind of stuff. But what I've never done is really track lines of queens and you know, try to do different things with the genetic lines. I've never done that.
Yeah, what I do is I never breed from the same hive twice in a row.
Yeah, I'll have 2 or 3. You know, I'll raise queens from 2 or 3. I'll do one round of graft from this hive, then I'll go to a different hive. My next round.
Last year I bred from 2 hives, and they all have like this wax seal in front, so I just stick in note the color of the seal. I bred from purple and yellow last year, so next year any other hive.
Yeah.
All right, so I feel that we might have some new beekeepers on the chat, like first-year guys, and I just have to do a public service announcement. We're going to use another person's experience to our benefit, that learned from someone else's mistake. And this guy down in Florida was hospitalized after sticking his penis into a beehive. So if you're a brand new first-year beekeeper, make sure you don't stick your penis.
Don't do that.
He said 22-year-old Jim Bale was caught sneaking into a bee farm in the middle of the night. Jim claimed he had sexual feelings for bees ever since his first viewing of the Bee Movie.
So that got cured real quick.
So I just wanted to make sure that, you know, everybody that's watching knows not to do this for any reason.
He didn't tell him he identified as a bee.
Dear God.
What is
Thank
wrong
you,
with
Bob.
I can't believe there's humans this stupid.
You know, just you know, we said it here first. We're definitely here for your safety and beekeeping enjoyment. So,
and here I was considering, when we came on, I was considering clicking that button that says stream to my audience, and I chose not to. And so you've helped me understand that was actually the correct choice. It was the best choice.
Hey, well, you know, I don't care about, you know, we're not always politically correct over here. We're just correct, not always politically
hilarious,
correct.
Man.
That's funny. But, you know, I saw that today.
The hive had a virgin queen.
The hive had a virgin queen in it.
God, it's unbelievable.
James, to talk about enlargement.
I wonder if he had any swelling.
That cured some ED that night. There was no ED going on there.
An animal crawling on me. Oh, okay. Turn around. There you go.
Yeah, I bet she's not having any thoughts about the Bee Movie anymore.
Right? I know.
You never know. Those kind of...
Never underestimate the power of stupid. Ever.
Never.
Oh,
Don't have bears in the area, but...
Right. Rodney said, I bet the swelling didn't go away in 4 hours. Todd said he's probably from Canada visiting Florida.
I resent that.
Probably driving a Chevy.
Oh.
Bazinga.
That's funny. Yeah, how do you recover from that? I mean, that segment, not that in general.
Yeah, so good night, everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. I mean, I don't even have to get that close to my colonies to get stung. First of all, how do you get it in the infantry?
Gentle.
Yours are gentle?
Yeah.
Mine are gentle until they're not. My thing is it's like Russian roulette. I just don't know when I open the colony if it's that nice guy or a raven lunatic. Don't know. Let me see.
Touche.
How could someone think that was a good idea? Don't know. Might even be fake news. I just got the thing. It's probably dumb enough to where it's true.
I mean, they're wow.
Yeah, you can't make that stuff up.
Bob, how many hives are you going to try to go to for next year?
Yeah, that's the. You
Or
know,
what's your plan?
I am about 25 more than I wanted to be this year. I was perfectly happy at just like 50 colonies. And then I had those other queens come in, which forced me to do the splits. So now I'm sitting at 75 colonies.
Oh, you can
Yeah.
still swim.
Yeah, I could. But yeah, I'm waiting on the person to call and say, hey, I need a queen. Sure, no problem. Come on over. And then I'll take them one of them new queens out of one of them pro nukes and cage it up and sell it to them. And then I'll merge those bees with another one, right? Until they're finally big enough that I can just put them in a 10 framer there. Let me see. How short of legs would you have to have? Was he crawling? That is true. What if it was on a pallet? Maybe he's just got a really long one, and he just swung it into the hive. Who knows? Or he has an upper entrance. We don't know. These things we do not know.
I'm not touching that, man.
Mark Miller says, hey, we could invent a blow-up beehive.
The blow up beehive. Wow.
2 sales a year.
2 sales a year. They come loaded with bees. Well, people in Texas might set them up. If they looked original enough, they could get the ag deduction for having beehives on their colony. Or on their land. They're just all blow-ups. I just like to watch the comments after stuff like that to see what kind of crazy stuff from our viewers is going to pop up in the chat. And you guys never fail.
Yeah, that.
So, Matt, you're saying you're going to have 100 hives. Are you looking to be like in the honey production, or are you going to go like honey and nuke?
I wanted to be 100 honey, but I think now with grafting, I'm going to go get some nukes, and I'm not going to go full honey now.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way my business model has been for years is nuke production and honey production. And then I started with some queens several years ago. But kind of depends on what's in your area, what you can do
Yeah.
for sales and stuff.
Yep,
Well,
exactly. And it's gonna grow organically. You know, it's gonna take a while. So I'm not too rushed. I
No,
said
It won't take
for a
that
while.
long.
You're going to find out one thing, Matt, is that when people find out that you're doing queens or nukes, pretty much by word of mouth, and I'm sure you have a bee club in the area. You can advertise in your bee club newsletter, or if their club puts out a website that that these people provide these different services. Put your name on that. Once that information gets out, you'll have people calling me up all the time.
I actually thought about making a group for central Minnesota because there isn't one. There's southern Minnesota and northern Minnesota. As soon as I start commenting in there, they're like, "You're not in northern Minnesota."
Yeah, why not? If there's bee people in your area, hook up with them and start your own little small club.
Yeah,
And it doesn't have to. I mean, I'm in one, the Greater Baltimore Beekeepers, which was an offshoot because of I'll just say a disagreement within the physical club. And basically our club is more of a Zoom club. And we have a website and all that. We do get together occasionally, once a month maybe, for actual physical, like say somebody's apiary or local microbrewery or something like that for a social aspect of it. But then we also have our Zoom meetings where it's kind of like this here, where we sort of have a presentation. We might bring a presenter in through Zoom, or we might just have a question and answer session, which people like to do that too.
Sure.
And you know, if you'll capture more people and all.
It won't take long, because if someone comes and buys queens from you, when I was selling queens, they would drive 2 hours to my house to pick up 5 queens, and then they would go home, and then they'd call you back in a couple weeks. You got some more queens? Or my buddy needs some queens now. He's done passed your number on.
Yeah,
They'll
yeah.
just start calling you.
Well, you'll go from no business to a lot of business really quick.
Yeah, that's all right.
Queens are high demand, and you know, I'm sure in your area, like everybody else's area, it's only for a finite portion of time because of the weather conditions and stuff, and breeding conditions, and that kind of thing. So
Yeah, I like it. It kind of, I can set up the machines to work, and I know I have 20 minutes till I have to switch a bunch of stuff. So I just go out, grab the stuff I need, come set up on this table, switch machines again, and go back and start grafting and put it all back together.
yeah. I mean, I've changed mine this year, where I used to keep 10 honey hives, and I had 24 nukes. I usually would like to sell at least 20 nukes a year, and so I switched it around where honey sales has kept growing, and it's a little bit less hassle. Well, quite a bit less hassle when it comes to nuke selling. So this year I made a big leap where I've downsized, where I upscaled my honey production to 16 hives and downsized my nukes to 12. And most of the nukes for me are going to be for me and my, resources and stuff like that, or insurance hives. So, and then I hope I won't be able to do it this year because I'm having to rebuild, but hopefully next year, I'll have plenty of resources at the time I need them to start up a good cell builder and get back into queens, and I got enough single mating boxes for about 30 hives, 30 queens at a time. So,
yeah, I think my goal is, I came out of winter with 4, but one was pretty small, and that one ended up dying. So basically 3. So I'm at 23 right now. I want one more mated queen, so I'm at 24. I want to go into winter at 24. And then I want to do one more round, or maybe 2. I don't know, probably 3 or 4, but to be honest. But do a couple rounds of grafting, and I want to fill up all the nukes I have and let them go through winter. And if they make it, they make it. If they don't, they don't. I'm not out anything.
With your nukes, you're doing deeps, right?
Yeah, yep.
Well, I would, and where you're, I don't know. I know you're very cold weather there. Yep. I would definitely go 5 over 5 for sure, as far as the size of the hive. And of course, and they're feeding them sugar water. I presume that's how you're going to do it. I feed them up with a top hive feeder, and that top 5 frames pretty much goes into being a honey super. So they're crammed in the bottom, and then they can move right straight up into that honey area there, where they don't lose any contact with the honey and stuff, and they will survive better. And don't you insulate? I think I've seen you insulate most of your hives.
No, I don't. I have a insulated apame hive.
Yeah.
And, I don't like it.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, because I don't have one, but I've looked at one, and I don't like a lot of some of the features, like their feeders and stuff like that.
So,
and I have a license hive, a 6-frame licensed nuke, 5 over 5 deep.
Yep.
I took that out of the mix. Yes, it's nice as far as the insulation, but you have to watch about your vaporizer. I got to use a special little wooden plate thing that I made, so I had to stick it in the front door. Where the wooden boxes, I have the bottom boards with the holes in it. You just stick the vaporizer in the rear end and block up the front. And then I have a little support bar for my vaporizer so it doesn't bend that copper pipe.
Yep.
And I can walk away and get other things done while that thing's vaporizing. Where that license, I got to hold it there. And then you're close to it with a respirator on. Even though you got a respirator, I like to stay away from all that stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'm not real, I'll say, struck on all those insulated hives. I mean, they're nice, but I don't know.
Yeah, for me, I think they're great for all the guys down south where it's hot, because the thing up here is I had it my first year beekeeping, and this is the first winter I've had a hive that survived the winter. And what I did is I fed them heavy, and they clogged all the vents, and I let them clog it all, because those hives are they're so vented that if there's a breeze that's going through there all winter, and they don't survive.
Right.
I'll pull no mites on their washes. I have them packed full of honey, and they'll be dead before January.
Well, that's like the license hive has holes in the top of the Star Farm lid. I plug them all up, no upper entrance, no ventilation. In the bottom of that 6-frame hive, it had 4 holes in it. I kept one of them open, and after I had torn it down this year, I looked at that vent, and then bees pretty much purplized that vent up. I should have just put that other Styrofoam plug in there, and that was another problem. I said, you got a Styrofoam plug, but you got to open the hive up and take all the frames in order to plug the hole up. Don't you think you ought to have it so you can do it from the bottom of the hive?
Yeah.
On the outside? Make more sense to me.
Yep.
But what I did was I went back to wooden boxes, and they do fine. And of course, my nukes were always, I got a barn there where it keeps the wind off of them, kind of gives them like a little microclimate, in the area and stuff like that. And I know you're up in the really cold country. I mean, if anything, I would make up some Styrofoam insulated sleeves.
So the last 4 years, I've been testing every winter, and I take all my notes, and what I found, this works for me, mile down the road or whatever might be totally different. But what I found what worked for me was if I seal the top off. So now I'm using the Reflectix like Ian uses, because it just seals off a lot better. But if I have it completely sealed off, the bees do the best, and just leave the one opening in the front. Then they survive.
No upper ventilation or anything,
none whatsoever. Yep.
Well, I had his name is Bill Hirschbach. Look him up in YouTube. He talks about insulation of hives and stuff. And I actually got to talk to him this spring. And basically, you insulate it with an insulated roof, or insulation over top of the hive. And what he did was he put there's a little bit of an air gap with a piece of, it's kind of like what Darren did, kind of like a shim with a air gap, and he put insulation inside that shim box, and then he put his telecover over top of that, and it holds that. It makes basically a heat dome in the top of the box, and the bees will get up there in the middle of the winter, and they have that heat dome to where it keeps them warm. It's their own heat. And then the moisture kind of, because of the insulation, it won't condensate. You don't have an inner cover. It doesn't condensate on the insulation, and it kind of goes, it wraps it and goes down the sidewalls of it and all. It's from what they tell me. And he says it works great. So I'm going to try to make some shims up and get some 2-inch Styrofoam sheeting from like Home Depot and cut it and try that out, see how it works out.
Yeah.
So it's not so much the sidewalls, but it's the top. Don't let the heat go out of the top of the roof.
Yep.
And that way it'll create that dome in there.
Yeah, that's what I found the best is have it sealed up. Just let the top.
And then I always, I went out and got some, you find some carpet layer that's throwing carpet away. And I take the carpet and cut it up in sections on each individual 10 framer, which is past the barn. And I use that as more from the ground up. It's more of a wind block than anything else. And it'll make that hive probably 20 degrees warmer by just cutting the wind off of it.
Yeah. So the hives across the creek I have, if I bundle them up, make sure the tops are all sealed, they're fine. Now, but they're slower coming out of spring. These behind my garage, this is like I have my house goes this way, plus my garage is this way, and then a heavy tree line this way. So they're blocked from all ways, like north is over here. So they're blocked, and they get the southern sun, and it bakes them. So this hive was trying to swarm, like it was making drones really early this year, and I was just shocked. But every year, these hives are coming out, and they're the biggest.
Well, see, that's like with me and my nukes at the barn. I know what way the winter winds blow, and the barn is 20 feet tall. It blocks all that wind off. It's a steel-sided building, so when the sun comes up over the hill, the sun kind of reflects because it's silver. It reflects off the side of the building, and it kind of is like a mirror, and it gives that little area behind that barn probably 5 or 10 degrees warmer, and they will be out flying a little bit more faster than the rest of them.
Yep.
Well, and what you got there is a great wind block, and then you also have the sun, kind of like heating them up, giving them a microclimate.
Yeah, and so I have it set up now where I'm always going to keep the ones that I'm going to graft from over here, and then I'll leave these my strong colonies, and I'm pulling off of all the time for.
Well, it's something like what Bob was kind of took one of my ideas where, you have these hives are dedicated honey hives, these hives are dedicated nukes, and you got to have it, and it works better that way,
Yep.
And if you have hives that are just for resources where you're pulling brood out or something like that, when you're needing it, let's say for a builder or another split and all that, where they're just constantly building resources for you, it works. It's a better management way and all.
Yeah, I'm going to use them basically as a resource hive. It's just they're going to be a 10 frame, 10 box hive.
Right.
I'll probably end up putting another box on top, but I'll do it on no foundation, fresh foundation. And that's been great this year. I took all the wax I had put in a crock pot, and I take all the frames and I just roll them on with fresh wax, put them straight in the hive, and they're pulling them out right away.
Yep.
Flow.
Yeah, it's been a nice trickle flow so far, but our heavy flow is coming. That's in July.
Okay.
You got enough comb for them?
No. Nope.
Well, just put 10 frame box of comb on there, and they'll draw it.
Yep. I got some honey boxes I got to get put on there, so they'll pull them out, and then I'm going to put some 10 frame. I'm just going to let them do all the work this year. I got the one hive's got plenty of honey for me. So
Pull the honey and give them the frames back.
yeah, yep, exactly.
I do that almost every year. Pull capped honey, go spin it out, let them clean it out, then drop a box right back on a colony that needs a box, right?
Yeah, and they'll fill it up faster that way too, because they feel like it's empty, and it's got the smell of fresh honey in there too.
Yep. Pretty lucky this year too, because the last how many years has been a drought. There's two people by me that have the one's a 12-acre field and the other one's a 40-acre field, and it's all wildflowers. So in native flowers. So the bees, when you watch them come out of their hive, they turn and go straight to those fields.
Yeah, you're lucky there.
Yeah. This is the first year though they're producing.
Well, it's like yourself. You went from a small amount of hives to a large amount of hives, and Bob can say this. It takes so many years to make more. You're always trying to make more wax. As far as brood comb versus honey supers and stuff like that. And it's like myself. I mean, all right, I'm added more. Expanded my honey production, but now it's like, I still need to start drawing out more honey supers, and I don't like to mix them between the honey and the honey supers and the brood frames.
Yep.
And right now they got plenty of brood frames, I think, but when it comes to honey, it's like, well, this year I'm fine, but next year I'm gonna have to put some boxes in where it's all all foundation. So anyway, that's what's where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I set up my boys. They're excited to use the nail gun, so or stapler. I showed them how to make frames, and they were out there just going. They had 100 of them made up, and I was like, "All right."
How old are they? How old are they now?
Nice free labor.
One is just turning 11. The other one is 9.
Okay, they're at the age they can do all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, yep.
We're trying to get a new 3-wheel or 4-wheeler, right?
Yep.
So they're trying to earn that money, put it on the account.
Yep. I told them, I'm like, you guys, if you do all this, I'll give you a hive. You can do whatever you want with it. The one boy said, I'm gonna let him go, and I'm gonna have honey next year. I said, okay. The other boy goes, I'm gonna chop it down. I'm gonna sell a nuke. I'll have more money than you.
Well, that's good because they learn value of the dollar and also some business aspects of it. Of how to make money and the basics of business.
Yep. I show them everything with this, Charlie, and I laid out if they come work for me, and I'm like, okay, what are you working for? And we go down the list, and I show them like, this is how I bid the job. This is what we got it for. This is what we made. All said and done, and they're like, eyes are open. I'm like, now if you worked at a job, if you got an hourly rate, this is what you got, and this is what the owner would take. I'm like, well, that ain't fair. I'm like, that's life.
Well, that's good. If they can, you got a business you started there, and then you can, if they come into your business and it could easily expand and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Hey Bob, I stopped up at that bee supply guy, and he was a day reseller.
Oh yeah.
And he got, I forget how many thousand frames he had sold this guy. I'll say 3,000 frames. And he said like 3% of them couldn't even use them. So he called Day Dan up and said, hey, you got to replace these. And he said, oh no, that's on you. And they went around about it. So basically he said, you can take your dealership and shove it,
Right.
So he found a Mennonite guy up in Pennsylvania, not a couple hours from my house, I guess. And it was him and his son, and they were making frames and boxes. And so he said, I want to buy frames and boxes from him. He showed him what he sold last year. So he says, yeah, if this is the kind of amount of product you were going to get. And so the guy went ahead and bought like a $15,000 frame making machine or something. I don't know whether it cuts the frames. I think it was a saw, some type of saw, a gang saw, I'll say, that slices all the end bars and stuff like that. And then they have some kind of a jig machine with, I seen one on the internet where they have the staples at all the key points with stapler, and it kind of squeezes, you put the frame together with glue, put it in that thing, it squeezes it, and then it staples all the frame, all the points at one time. I know who it was, that Golden Bee out there where Tom and Melissa are. That's where I seen that video. That guy must have either made that thing or whatever it was.
Oh, he was selling them for like $8,000 or something.
What's that? That machine?
I think it's like $8,000. Yeah, 8 or 9 grand, something like that. But yeah, so the guy told Daydant to kiss off, huh?
Yeah, he's told Daydant forget it. You got junk. So he's got the boxes he's getting in. I guess it's the same place that makes them, but they're dovetail boxes instead of finger joints. The other thing, I looked at those, and they seemed like to me that the dovetails were not as big and strong or something. I'm not sure. What do you think about that, Brad? You would work with joinery and stuff.
Yeah. Dovetail, you don't need a dovetail bee box. There's actually been tests that show that dovetail actually isn't even as strong as a good box joint. So if you're doing a proper box joint, using proper glue and nails, screws, whatever.
Well, when you say a box joint, you're talking about a finger joint or a rabbit.
Are very similar. Finger joints typically are much finer. Box joints have just bigger fingers, kind of thing.
Right.
A finger joint is a box joint, but
So Brad said, give him the finger joint.
Give him the finger. So if you.
I think a lot of people underestimate also the glue, because building how many cutting boards over the years, you can make splices with wood right together without putting any kind of plungers or disc or anything in there. And that glue will hold up to that cutting. Like, you'll break it next to it, but it won't be the part.
Yeah, the wood gives way long before the glue gives way. The glue is way stronger than the wood. So, yeah, no, I don't think dovetails are necessary, and I don't think there's any advantage to them. They're more complex, and
it's a fancier look.
They're typically smaller, like you're saying, Charlie. The box joints have.
It just looked like to me the joinery was.
Right?
Yeah, it just looked like to me that when they came together, I was like, man, that's awful thin looking,
Yeah.
All that, but.
And a dovetail is, you see dovetails typically in the old style of furniture on drawers, because the way a dovetail works is it has a like that dovetail part that is a mechanical connection on the drawer front. So when you slam that drawer, and the drawer puts a lot of stress on, the front of it stops, but the rest of the drawer wants to keep going, then it's that mechanical dovetail that holds that drawer front onto that drawer. But that's a very specific one-way stress on that kind of thing.
And another thing is, like on a drawer front, you're trying to hide the joint because it's got a face,
Yeah.
It's not like a finger joint where you can see the joinery, whereas a dovetail, you've got the face of the board, and it fits into the board on that rabbet on the back side of it.
Yeah, there's different kinds of dovetails, and you're talking about a half-blind dovetail, which you can't see on the front face,
right,
but you can see on the side. That's the kind of thing you'd use on a drawer if you don't have a separate face, but you can use a full dovetail, and then you could see it's more like a finger joint. But you're right. If I were to, if you were to dovetail bee boxes, I would say don't use a half-blind dovetail. I think that's just somebody trying to use a router jig to make bee boxes.
Well, these weren't blind. They were you could see them from all corners,
Oh.
But I looked at it, and they were small dovetails. And I just looked at him, and I said, that looks so weak looking compared to like a big finger joint.
Yeah.
So give him the big finger joint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to touch that. So you just go ahead, Bob. That's but yeah, a proper box joint, that's just about the best you can do. And it's easy. And great thing about a box joint is if you cut that box joint properly, it's going to self-align your box. It's going to make sure it is absolutely square at the corner. Once you pull that joint together nice and tight, there's no way that it's not going to be square.
Yep. And you put glue on it, it slides right in there.
Yep.
Charlie, you're thinking of something else.
I was
See,
wondering,
I'm not going to play.
You're not going to play tonight?
I'm not playing that game.
I was wondering who's going to jump
It's
on that
not
one.
glue you're using for that, Charlie. Well, I hope
It's
it's
a
not glue you're
podcast
using
brought
for
to you
that.
by Astroglide.
Astroglide isn't a glue, Charlie.
I never heard of Astroglide. That's part of the Jetsons.
Maybe you should.
Yeah.
If you've been using glue, you might want to just Google it.
Big Mike's Raw Honey. Hey, Big Mike.
Hey, how
Hey,
you
Mike.
doing? Hey,
Yeah,
Brad.
Right.
Hey there.
What's going on tonight, Mike?
Oh, had a swarm call this afternoon. It was 35 feet up in a tree.
I bet you just shinnied right up that tree, didn't you?
Oh, I got it.
You really did.
Yep. 21 foot
Break out
pole,
the shotgun.
21-foot pole, 8-foot step ladder, and a lot of strength.
And an 8-foot bed pickup to put the ladder in, right?
No, I just went up towards the
I
top
do.
of the 8-foot ladder.
The
Hey, Todd.
Hola, Todd.
when they say they're 35 feet up in the tree or something like that, I say, yeah, I'm not the guy for you today. Or I go up there and wave at them, say no.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
oh man.
I do that
Someone-
when they're that high up in the trees in my yard. I'm like, oh, nice knowing you. See you later. Have a good
Somebody
one.
called me like a week or two ago. The guy was saying there's bees in the ground. I mean, what do you want me to do? First, I've never heard of bees nesting in the ground. Second, assuming it's that, like, what do you want me to do? Get an excavator? Like,
Exactly.
the only thing I can think of is smoking them out. And I'm sure it was wasps.
Honeybees
Just-
don't nest in the ground.
Exactly.
If they're nesting in the ground,
I've seen them nest in the water service boxes in the ground, though.
We
that's
have
a
a
box.
honeybee down here that it's like a solitary bee. It looks just like a honeybee, and they nest
Oh,
in
yeah.
the ground.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
Where are you
I-
from, Mike?
New Hampshire.
Okay.
I think it's called a
can go for that.
solitary bee. Yeah, I've talked to Brad quite often.
This is Todd. What's going on, man?
Not much.
Glad you waited till the last 5 minutes to jump in.
Yeah. Well, hey, I still made it in. I was going to go put a graphene frame in after work today, but it was 97 degrees and I really didn't feel like getting my monkey suit on and sweating in the first 30 seconds.
You
But
know,
other than that, I would have.
Yeah, but you don't. But you
Because,
don't have no humidity, so you don't sweat out there, right?
oh, yeah, okay. Hot as
I,
hot.
I
But
found
I-
that if I put on one of those athletic workout shirts. First time I did it, it was an accident, purely accidental. I was wearing like a blue workout shirt, the breathable ones, and put my vented bee suit on over that. It's like I didn't sweat that much today in that, and it was
Wait a
in the 80s.
You
Yeah.
have a workout shirt?
Yeah, I know it's surprising.
I don't know
It's
what that is.
surprising.
But I was
I see you.
I decided not to go out there. I'll just go out there. I'll be out there like at 5:30 in the morning. Get my work done before it gets too hot. But I would have been stuck out there because I would have started wrestling with the ants, and I just didn't want to stay out there. So I said, screw it.
Those vented
Tiny
jackets.
arms
If it's
wrestling
really
with
hot
fire.
out, I have to put my vented jacket on. I don't wear a t-shirt under it. It's just a
I-
jacket.
I have one. I have a Comfort Pro vintage jacket. And I like it, but there isn't really a breeze right now. So I might as
Yeah.
well wear a regular one.
And I do get a sunburn through
Yeah,
that jacket
me
if
too.
I don't wear a
Me too.
t-shirt.
Yeah, me too. But yeah, so that's what I'm up to.
Well, it sounds like
It's only going to be 108 next Thursday, so
Not all.
right now it's a cool day.
It's like 3 times the temperature Brad's got.
It is. It really is.
See, what is that? What
It was,
I have
it was 9 last
I
night.
have my
It's like
I have my
not
list
quite
here.
50 F.
42, a little over 42.
Russell
Fine.
says you need to try the freezer vest.
Yeah, I see people talking about those online with the freezer packs in them.
Oh,
They say they
Yeah.
work quite well.
And then once they melt, you're just wearing around 100 pounds of water.
You're
on
wearing
you, like
that
a weight
swimming pool vest.
A weight vest.
Don't fall in the river. You'll go to the bottom.
I don't know, it was only 80 something today. It actually felt nice out for a change.
So, Mike, is the honey season on up there where you're at?
Yeah, some of it sounds like the black locust. Some areas are plugging out their supers quick in their brood boxes. We're having a good flow this year.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That's good.
thinking the basswood should start up pretty soon. We're just really getting going. I've been listening to you guys catch swarms for 2 or 3 months. It seems like.
Mhm.
Mm.
We've got
Yeah, I know you're paying.
Oh, your apiary's starting to look good, Brad.
It's starting to look a lot better now. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the colors. As I showed
This
you
looks
my
really
pictures.
nice. Yeah, exactly. I love the way these Pro Nooks look.
Yeah, because that's the color I paint my hives anyways.
Dip boxes are just kind of drab.
Let's see.
Go to get some nukes next week.
So how many hives you got going right now with your zombies and everything else? You must be
Well,
getting
there's 54 zombies here.
yeah.
I think he said about another dozen that could come over. They grow at his place as well as here, so there's no
Yeah.
great hurry. But those are just zombies. Those aren't meant to be anything other than a resource for queens next month.
But it's
How
something.
many are here? I can't remember. There's, I don't know, 30, maybe 25, 30 here.
Next
But
month,
they're
that's in
full.
2 hours.
What's that?
Next month, that's in 2 hours.
That's true. Well, 3 hours for him.
And it's like 30 days long. So
I know, I was just trying to make a lame joke.
yeah, you threw me. So yeah, so next week I'm going to get 50 nukes to bring in, but they're not coming in the home yard. You won't see them here. I've got 2 out yards. I'm taking those too. I'll just drop them straight there for honey flow. They can sit there for the month of June and grow up and be big and healthy for honey flow.
Well, guys, we've been going for 2 hours,
Cool.
and we got the honey table for tomorrow. Weekend honey show here at my house, and Charlie's on vacation. Matt doesn't do anything ever, so I don't know. Todd's cooking.
I cooked tonight because I had the company meet
around
last
here.
night, so
Being Friday, there's only 3 more days of work this week, so
That's it. Only 3
you
more
know.
work days this week. So I'm going to cut the
thank
screen
God, it's almost over.
for this evening. And we appreciate all of you showing up and you guys that joined us to talk. And I'm going to cut the live stream. So good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
good night, everybody.
Good night.
There we go.